Welcome to Meditations with Miguel Angel. We are here live at Vaquero Radio, the second story tower, just outside the library at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. And today, I've got a very special philosophic treat for you. But first, I'd like to share with you a technique that I first discovered in Colorado. I used to be a camp counselor in the mountains in Colorado. I did that for a summer, and it was so sweet. The city of Denver would send us all these little kids that are just traumatized from bullies and parents, and the kind of stuff that lower middle class or the lower class in general, these problems that they go through. Some of them were even orphans, and we would teach them how to. So the city of Denver would send them to us up in the mountains in Nederland, Colorado, essentially at Gates Camp, and we'd teach them how to hunt, how to fish, how to swim, how to climb, how to play games with each other. It was so sweet. And just living out there, especially when they weren't around, the couple of days between camp sessions, when we would all sit as a group, myself and the other counselors and the instructors, the administrators rather, we would sit around and meditate on the nature of what we had accomplished that week with the youth. And so in that way we would encourage ourselves and each other as healers, even as we were encouraging the children to heal. It's the power of decompression was felt in those days. And so a philosophic process that I picked up that I still use to this day, though to be honest I've been a little bit distracted by the world, and so have not been applying myself as powerfully as I could be. Let it be known that lethargy is a sin. But there's this philosophic principle that I picked up, and they call it rosebud thorn. So the visualization of a rose, you start with the rose itself, which are the petals. And that's usually the first thing we think of when we think of a rose, is the petals, right? Most people don't think of the thorns first. Most people think of the red flower petals that signify a rose. So that's the overall memorability of what you experienced. So it's what's your key takeaway from this experience? And I think that's something powerful that we all need to do when we're decompressing from an experience, is to look at the rose and say, hey, that was a week, whew, but what did we learn? And that's what the rose is all about. So if I were to give a rose, for example, signifying my time here broadcasting with Vaquero Radio, I would say that the rose goes out to the overall memorability of getting to work with this process. It's not too often that you get to sit in front of a microphone and discuss your feelings in a way that's effective and powerful. We're essentially walking translators, right? We feel emotions, we think thoughts, but we speak languages. And so that process can be a little difficult to master. But I feel like my time here has definitely been the rose. My experience with the microphones will prove to be useful for humanity in the end. We would also discuss in this philosophic principle, because we have to consider the whole rose, we must consider the thorns. The thorns are that which hurt us, that which sting us. And so, to continue the example, a thorn that I could say I developed from this experience as a broadcast DJ is learning to let go of the ego. Man, so many times you want to police yourself on your image and make sure that you come across a certain way, or that you are understood fully, and that process, that sub-intellectual self-chatter is just so unnecessary. So if there's a thorn that's ever been in my side, it's self-chatter, and that's what I'm trying to do away with. I don't want to chatter at myself. I don't want to throw daggers at myself while I'm talking to other people, or while I'm broadcasting, or while I'm in my classes. It's important to maintain an aura of affected love at all times, and that means having self-love too. That's been my thorn. It's a pretty popular thorn among Americans, is self-love. It's hard to love yourself when you find out what your country has done. And then we discuss the bud of the rose. So the bud is that which could blossom, that which grows, that which comes next. So if I was to identify a bud for my time here as a radio DJ, I would say, it seems like I've placed myself in a position of practice to continue a tradition of excellence as a speaker. Yesterday I gave a presentation at the Engaged Scholars Symposium on love, and today I'm speaking about light on Vaquero Radio. It seems that I've prepared a trajectory for myself that involves the voice more than any other tool, and so I'm learning to see the voice as central to my being. That is how my circumstances have primed me. And so if I consider the bud of the rose is the blossoming. I can feel myself blossoming into a powerful motivational speaker, orator, preacher, hortator, if you want to cite the Elder Scrolls. Anyway, I'm going to leave you for just a moment while I prepare our thesis, which is 3 words. But first, I want you to meditate on what you think those 3 words could be. If you could change the world with 3 words, what would those words be? We are back. Okay, let's get this party started. We've got a thesis for you. It's very simple. It's 3 words. But I'm not going to tell you my 3 paradigm-changing words until you promise to write yours down so that you never forget them. We meet on the field of love. Here's the thesis that I have to share with you today. It came to me in a series of revelations, through deep meditation, a lot of travel, a lot of conversations, a lot of friendships, but also a lot of struggle, a lot of woe, a lot of suffering, a lot of indolence. Light is consciousness. Those are my 3 words for you today. I want you to hold that in your mind and consider the truth of it. That the presence of light is the presence of consciousness, is the presence of God. There's a recent laboratory test that was conducted in a pitch black room where they used very, very sensitive cameras, and they were able to record the aura that humans give off when they glow. So humans glow in the dark. In other words, we are made of light. Everything in the universe is made of light, of course, because before the Big Bang happened, the singularity was a quantum light field, self-bound. It emanated, it erupted in what we call the Big Bang, and dispersed particles of itself all over the universe. Some of those particles became you. So it's not that God is something separate from you. It's that you are a piece that's separated from God. And every day you're a little farther from God because you're all flying away from him. Every planet, every solar system, every galaxy, every quasar, every large star cluster in this fine universe is drifting slowly and slowly away from the center as it expands towards the edges. And so this quantum light field, which has its own consciousness, it is of course conscious of itself. It recognizes itself as ever expanding. We have no reason to believe that the expansion will ever stop. But if it did, we know that our magnetism would bring us back together. And in the end, only two things can happen: a continual expansion that happens forevermore, or an eventual contraction that leads to a future singularity. So, I ask you, how do we build stability in this universe? As humans, of course, we can only do so by thinking. It is our most powerful gift. God gave us the ability to process. The universe gave us the ability to analyze, decipher, and disseminate information. It's what we're best at. That's what humans are proud of, is our intelligence. This quantum light field that knows itself through itself because it used to be one. You and I used to be pieces of the same giant cosmic puzzle that was God. We used to be rays of light inside of His singularity. Now we are rays of light outside, far, far away from God. So the thesis, light is consciousness, is a powerful one that I want you to hold in your heart and in your mind. I struggle to do the same. Some days human ego creeps up. From the base of my right foot all the way up to the top of my crown, I feel ego climbing like a little serpent. And when it makes it all the way to the top, it says, "Hey, look, I made it." But to what end does ego exist, if not solely for delusion? Nature has no need to process herself. Plants don't reflect. I believe that humans are stuck in a state of self-reflection because we've forgotten that we are light. That's the source of all suffering. That's why people run to addictions. That's why people run. It's the expressions of light in all of its glory, made manifest through our behaviors, through our attitudes, through our convictions, through our processes, through our methods. Light is what we are. This is a world of light, both at large in the universal cosmic scale and at the atomic realm, where we now know the smallest particles we've been able to find are motes of light. Those are the constituting photons that give quarks a positive or negative charge. Quarks have not a charge, they have a spin, but the spin generates a charge in the atomic realm. So when you talk about quantum spin, you're talking about atomic charge. And when you're talking about quantum spin, you're really talking about motes of light, which is the photons that constitute the quarks. So that's the basement of our universe, is the sub-quantum motes of light. There are some 2D expressions of these motes that they've been calling axions or axioms, but there's very little to be said for those other than they are 2D representations of a 3D space. So we have the stars above and we have the atoms below, the particles below, and we're right in the middle of those two, mediating with our intelligence, with our brilliance. In fact, that's why we say someone is brilliant when they have a really good idea, because they literally glow. That's why the human brain lights up when it thinks. That's been proven in the laboratories. When you think, you glow. I want to leave you with a glowing thought, and the first one that comes to mind is the realization, the mutual realization that we all get to have together, that light is consciousness, that this universe is experiencing itself, and that if you look towards the exact center of the universe, that's where you'll find God, because that's where we once were. Take a few deep breaths, hero. Hold your head up high and recognize the changes that you are sure to bring upon the world now that you recognize yourself as a vessel of light. When I return, we'll discuss the process. For now, the process lies in your method. Find the right method with which to communicate through yourself to the universe at large. Each method is individual. When we return, I'll share mine. Cheers. There's a very simple method that you can apply that'll take you into a realm of astral consciousness unlike any you've ever imagined. The process is simple. Any transcendental meditation guru can walk you through the basics, so I won't waste your time with this. But I do recommend that you educate yourself on YouTube, since our school systems globally failed to incorporate meditation holistically, except for a few novel countries. Like I know in India they use meditation practice in school systems, and that creates a lot of solutions for problems within consciousness. Oh, thank you. Cool. Yeah, good call. And so the education sector of mankind must come to reckon with the lack of meditation. And the lack of meditation indicates a lack of God, a lack of light recognizing light, that self-similar spark that brings you back to the center of your mind every time. And that's the basis of my methodology for how I came to the conclusion that light is consciousness. I came to recognize that my brain lights up when I think. And so, over the course of transcendental meditation, I applied my thoughts not to worldly matters but to cosmic matters. And I started to recognize that regardless of how far I expand my field of awareness, I'm always capable of coming back to my body. That's the grounding experience. This is what makes us essentially walking duality protocols. We hold humans, we hold the power of the mystics of old. All of us do. That's the greatest lie that was ever told, is that magic was only for the wizards, but it's for everyone. It's always been popular. It's always been, what do kids call it these days? Riz? There's always been little spells like that that work their way into the consciousness field. And yeah, it's like so tragic that mankind forgot that magic is real because of the rampant presence of scientism. Both of these aspects describe the totality of the universe. It took a long time for people to realize that manifestation is as simple as visualization. These are ways in which light expresses itself in our consciousness matrix here on Earth, the global consciousness matrix that we create as co-inhabitants of Gaia, of Terra, of Mundus, of Earth, our planet of many names. Yes, truly I tell you, your mind lights up when you think. And a person is said to be brilliant when they are intelligent, because they are shining from the crown. So when you seek brilliance, when you seek brilliant thoughts, channel from a high place, visualize the stars above sending you their wisdom. That'll get you through exams at least. I swear, there's been so many times where like, I didn't have the exact answer, but my spirit did, and just a quick 5-second meditation where you send out a question and receive the first answer that comes. Making sure to always ask the high place and not the low places will get you through the vast majority of the student experience here at the university and through the world at large. It's like, until you're perfect, you have to keep reflecting on all the ways in which you're not perfect so that you can continue to correct yourself and become a better version of yourself. There's nothing wrong with stopping somewhere along the journey and saying, you know what, this is good enough, this is who I am. But ideally, we should always be improving. Just as light is always expanding in this universe, we are always improving, expanding in our fields of influence, in our social systems, in our temples, in our churches, in our pews. To what end do we seek to expand? What motivates light to expand in this universe? I believe that's what humans call drive. The desire to do. The desire to do. To act. To create. In other words, the same impulse that drives you to want to, say, clean your house, or the same impulse that drives you to want to ride your bike, or to visit your friends. Those impulses, those desires, those passions of the world that drive us ever onward. They're aspects of emanation. They're reflections of how light processes itself in this universe. In other words, every time you act, you're shining. When you act, you shine. I'll leave you with that for just a moment. To act is to shine. And when I return, our conclusion on temporality and causality. And we're back with a very powerful conclusion. We have to learn to see light along lines of temporality and causality in a synchronous array. Thus far, we have not managed to do so as a society, but I'm confident that we can, if we just sufficiently advance our understanding of the quantum principles and astrophysics at large. Temporality and thus causality are our destiny to master. The primary objective that we carry is the requirement to shine. It's what we're designed to do. We're built to glow. Like I mentioned earlier, in that laboratory, they proved in pitch black conditions that humans glow. Wild, unexpected, and yet somehow it makes so much sense. These past 2,000 years of theosophic doctrine that have been held by the religious institutions, dating back to the first churches, they've all bared testimony, borne testimony of powerful phenomena miracles. This is only possible when light recognizes itself. If you don't recognize yourself as a being of light, first and foremost, you're missing out on what it means to really glow as a person. It is as Gloria Anzalduas described. First we are our reactions, then we are our labels, and then we are the bridges between people. I would just add the fourth stage, which is becoming bridges to the universe, connecting directly to the grand energy matrix that dwells at the center of our sun, which itself relays and connects through star clusters to the center of the universe itself. Light is always in transmission. When you see a star shining, it's akin to somebody talking. There's information being conveyed by the stars every second. So I leave you with this. What is the lesson that most resonates with your soul in this lifetime? What is the lesson that most resonates with your soul across all lifetimes? Let those lessons guide you. And if you don't have it yet, no worries. It's on its way to you now. Cheers and blessings upon you all. May God shine favorably upon us.